All right, let's get to the Detroit Lions, the number one offensive line in the NFL. I think this was evident, watching them play the knows how to tap into these guys and their potential and put them in position to succeed. But the tackle duo of Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. Give me your left guard pronunciation here, Sam, for all the people. Graham.
Glasgow,
of course. It started getting in my head. Glasgow and Ragnow, right?
Yeah.
It started getting in my head, though, because I always said it the right way, and you were like, you people here always say it the wrong way. Graham Glasgow at left guard. Frank Ragnow, one of the best centers. And then, look, I'm just team Kevin Zeitler, right? Until he completely falls off the ledge, you just drop Kevin Zeitler in at right guard on an offensive line, and as long as he's not the best or second best offensive lineman, you're in pretty good shape. Well, he's probably offensive lineman 5 on this group, but he can still play. And so adding Zeitler in at right guard, I think the Lions' offensive line is even better than they were last year when they were also one of the best in the league.
No, definitely. It is a little bit confusing when Glasgow and Ragnow are essentially spelled like they would be phonetically the same, but they're different.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, in large part because Ragnow, as far as I'm aware, is not a place, right? So it doesn't have a predefined pronunciation, right? Americans like to pronounce Glasgow like Ragnow, like Glasgow, and it's just not. There's a place.
No,
it's called Glasgow.
Place in Scotland.
That's what it's
a real
called.
Place.
So anyway, I think Taylor. This is a really good offensive line. There's no weakness, right? Every offensive line that we've talked about before has got at least one spot where you're like, there's none of that. I mean, the biggest question mark on this offensive line is Kevin Zeitler so old that he's going to stop playing well? And even if he does, they snag Christian Mahogany late in the draft, who we really like as a player that could step in and be solid. Now, that's a question mark, but that's like a question mark once removed as opposed to an obvious hole in the offensive line. This should minimum be, 5 capable starters, and one of them in Penei Sewell looks like an all-pro superstar. Like, this is a really good group.
Yeah, so you might have the best tackle in the NFL in Penei Sewell, right? As Trent Williams gets older, you might be talking about Sewell as the best tackle. You mentioned Lane Johnson as the best right tackle. Either way, like Sewell's up in the top 1 or 2 right tackles, top 3 probably offensive tackles. Ragnow is one of the best centers in the NFL. I guess my only question for the Lions is probably depth, right? You have a guy like Dan Skipper who's stepped in at multiple positions and been fine, but they don't have that 6th guy like a former first rounder like an Olu Fashanu sitting there, or a DeJuan Jones technically as a 6th offensive lineman. That's the only thing that's lacking here. But as far as the starting 5, to your point, players that have been extremely productive and still look like, other than Zeitler, they're all in the prime of their career. Zeitler's the only one who's probably on the downside, but again, still a guy that grades in the green and has been doing it at high level since 2012, since he entered the league. Extremely consistent. He has never not graded in the green in PFF history. So, yeah, the Lions are loaded, man.
Yeah, I mean, so look, there's Trent Williams, I think, is fairly entrenched as the best tackle in the NFL. If you remove Trent Williams, or you say, all right, in a post-Trent Williams landscape, there's several players, I think, that have a case. But Penei Sewell is definitely one of them. With Jason Kelce retiring, Ragnow is one of 2 players, I think, that would have a strong case to be the best center in the NFL. Creed Humphrey being the other one. Taylor Decker is a solid to better than solid. He's a good caliber left tackle. So you've got arguably, a reasonable argument, but arguably the best center, the best right tackle, a good left tackle, and then 2 above average / good guards. I mean, that, and some depth in guys like Christian Mahogany. I mean, this is it's as good as it gets in the offensive line right now.
And then, like I said earlier, you throw in Ben Johnson calling the plays, and the way, you'll see Penei Sewell out in space using his athleticism. You'll see these guys put into position to succeed. You'll have the 6th offensive lineman, Penei Sewell, catching passes in the flat. I mean, they're using these guys to their strengths as well, and tapping into their strength and athleticism, because they're all pretty good, man, up front. Not just in the regular run game and in pass protection, but also the versatility that they bring to the table. So love watching the Lions play football, in part because of their offensive line and how they play. So I think they're the clear number 1 offensive line in the NFL.